Hey, this is Joe from SoFly, and in this video, we are going to export WooCommerce orders using WPL export, and then let our clients run that export and download the file. So to get started, we'll go down here to All Export and select New Export. And then from the pull down, we will select WooCommerce Orders. Now you might notice we have a bunch of other post types to select from, including posts, pages, taxonomies, comments, users, and then a bunch of WooCommerce stuff like our reviews and products and customers and coupons. You can export anything with WP All Export. And in this video, we're going to focus on WooCommerce Orders. So we'll select that. And then over here, we have our filtering options. So if we want to, right now we have all of our orders are going to be exported, right? But if we want to, we can filter them so only a small subset of those orders are exported. For example, let's say we want to export all of our orders that were purchased by somebody in California. So let's search here for state. We'll select billing state and equals CA. And there we go. So this is going to export all of our orders that were ordered by somebody in California. So we can add any combination of filters here. So we can filter by order data, by the date, by our customer data, and we can combine those with and or statements. So we could say, somebody from New York or California, or all of our orders from California within the last week, anything like that, anything you need to do, you can set it up with your filters. But for our video, we're going to export everything. So we can delete our rule. Let's go ahead and customize our export file. Now here on the left, this is where we drag and drop to create our export. So let's see what we get. So by default, we're going to have our 3 columns here, and this is going to be a CSV export. So we'll dismiss this. And then to rearrange these, we just drag and drop, and then we click inside, then we can change the column name. We can go over here and we can drag and drop, for example, the order total in, or we can search and put in our first name. And let's preview. So that's it, right? We just drag and drop to create our export file. Now, let's say we wanted to combine some fields, right? Like, for example, I can add in my last name over here, right? But now their name is split up into 2 columns, and I want it to just be in one. So let's go over here to add field, and we'll select custom export field. We can go over here to the customer, first name and last name, split it like that. We can call this name. Preview, and there we go. We can also pass this data through PHP functions. So let's find our billing state again. And just as a quick demo, let's go ahead and pass this through a PHP function. So I'm going to make a new one over here called change state. So first we'll declare that we're starting the function, and then change state. And we're simply going to use str replace. We're going to replace all instances of CA with California using the state variable. And we'll close this off. So you can see here, pretty simple function, right? And then over here, we just need to put in the name of our function. So we're going to export the value returned by a PHP function, and it's going to be change state. Save that. And then we'll preview. And there we go. You can see here, California is in the longer form, right? Because this data is getting passed through the PHP function. Now you can do anything with PHP here. You can pass the order data in. You can pass in the order ID. You can take the address and send it to Google Maps and then get the Google Maps link for that address. You can do all sorts of interesting things with this. Very, very powerful feature. There's another way to do it over here. You can use a custom export field where you can drag in fields like this. We'll drag in the state and the postcode. And go ahead, So we're wrapping this in brackets, right? So these brackets, everything in those brackets is going to be processed as PHP. Here's our state function to change the state. And we'll call this address, right? So that's how this would work, right? So this is the same thing as over here. So you can pass all of this data inside, and then it's going to be processed by the change state function over here. So let's just leave it like this, and we'll save that. And then over here, we have all of our export data, right? Related to the order and everything else. So you have your order data over here, including completed date, order date. You can drag this in, put that over there and take a look. And you can see here's your date. And if we click inside, we have a few options. So we can use any date format, right? We can also select over here and just put the Unix timestamp if we wanted to. Then over here, we have a little bit more control. So I can say YMD for year, month, and date. And that's going to remove the time. So now it's just the date, right? And you can check on Google. There's a ton of different formats you can use. It's actually a whole syntax, and you can express the date pretty much any way that you think you would need to, just by looking up the proper date format for what you got to do. So we're going to leave it like this, and we'll continue. And then down over here, we just have more of our order data and our order total. All of our customer data is in here. And then we have our order items. So here is all the data from all of the products that have been purchased, including item cost, the SKU, the product ID, everything else. We have our product data. This includes all of our price information, stock status, total sales, our taxonomies for the products. Any custom fields associated with the products that were purchased would be in here. And then any attributes like the product color and the product size. So now that we've added some product data, it's going to change our export, right? Because some of these people have ordered 2 items. So right here, this order ID is duplicated, and we have 2 rows, 1 row for each product. If we go over here to advanced options, we can disable this feature, right? Disable each product in its own row. If we disable that, now each product is going to be in its own column. So product 1, product 2, and then we just have 1 row per order. The other configuration would be enabling this and disabling fill-in empty columns. If we do that, we still have 1 order per row, and then we just have an empty row with product information that's different for that row. Now we have a bunch of other product information that we can add. For example, like the product name, and that'll actually include the color and the size in it. So we can remove these fields, right? And kind of clean up our export. And then down here, we have some advanced elements from our products that you might find useful. Tax and shipping information for the orders, fees and discounts, and our notes. And finally, over here, we can change the separator for our CSV. Now, this is a CSV export by default. We can also set this to an Excel export or to XML. For the simple XML feed, we just drag and drop to rearrange our XML elements. And then down here, we can set the root element and the single element. If we need to get a little bit more complicated than that, we can go to custom XML feed. And then in here, we can define the exact XML specification that we need for our export. However, in this case, we are just going to stick with our CSV export. So switch that over. And then down here, we just have our function editor. So that's our export all set up. Go ahead, click continue, and go over our options. So over here, we have our scheduling options. So we can choose to set this up with automatic scheduling. And this will allow us to run our export whenever we need to, right? We could run it like, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at midnight. And this service costs $9 a month. And you just point and click to set up your export. We have a free option as well called manual scheduling. And this is where you have these two URLs, and then you set up cron jobs on your server. Cron jobs, they're not the simplest thing in the world, but they're not very complicated. You can read our documentation on it here. But basically, the way this works is you have two cron jobs. First cron job is our processing URL. You just set this up to run every 2 minutes. And all it's going to do is check your site and see if the export has successfully completed. If the answer is no, if it hasn't been successfully completed, it's just going to restart it again, and it'll run for about 2 minutes before your server kills it. And then in 2 minutes, it'll check again. And if the export has successfully completed, then it does nothing, right? So basically, this processing URL is just going to keep your export running until it's finished. The trigger URL, this you want to set so it triggers every single time you want the export to start. So if you want to run it every Monday, your trigger URL is going to be set for Monday at the time you want the export to run, and then your processing URL is going to be set for every 2 minutes. So scheduling, there's a lot of uses for this. Like if you wanted, for example, to have your export run every week and then have an email sent or something like that, we have a video on this and how to set this up. Pretty interesting, very useful. Highly recommended that you check those out. For us though, we're setting this up for client mode. So the feature we care most about is down here. Allow non-admins to run this export in client mode. So the first step is to enable this, right? Now we do need to go over here to our settings. We need to set our roles with access. We have client mode, roles with access, and I'm going to let my editors use client mode. So we'll save that. We'll go over here, and then down here we have this option, right? So now every user with the role of editor who comes to my site and logs in, they're going to be able to see WP All Export, and they're going to be able to run this export here or download the export file. They can't see any other exports, they can't create new ones, and they can't edit any of them, including this one, right? They can't edit it. Now, the reason for that is we just saw that we can add custom PHP functions, right? So any user can come in if they have access to that page. If they're not an admin, they can just write some code that makes them an admin. So we can't let them do that. So what you can do if you want to allow a non-admin to run an export is enable this feature and then give them a user role that has access down here. So we'll enable that. And then let's check out the rest of these options. So we have export each order in real time as they're completed. So if we enable this, we lose client mode, right? Because there's no reason for this person to run the export. It's not possible to run the export. The only way to run the export is to create a new order. All right, so our export is complete. Let's go ahead and switch over to our editor and check out the site from their perspective. Switch to our editor user over here. And now you can see we've lost a lot of the functionality we have as an admin, but we have access to WP All Export. Open that up and you can see here, we just have this one export to run. So we'll download our CSV and check it out. And there is the export that we've created. So that is all it takes to export WooCommerce orders in client mode using WP All Export. Check out our YouTube channel. We have a lot more videos and stuff like this and our documentation at wpallimport.com. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon.